And welcome out to Trade Masters, presented by Tackle Trading, a show where two coaches come together with a couple of different setups, bounce them around with one another, with members of the team, as we just kind of beef up our midweek watch list. We do a loose vote to see who wins, but nobody ever tracks that, Maddie. Great to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well in and out of the market. Before we dive into a couple of setups here today, just a few things. Before we do, we're going to bring Coach Matt in, talk a little bit about the Fed, talk a little bit about some of these big dog earnings. Just remember, if you're not yet a member of Team Tackle, there is never a better day than a day that ends in Y to come on over, hit the link in the description, come give us a trial, come hang out with the best community out there, come hang out with us in the lounge each and every market day. Best trading community you are going to find, bar none, very much worth your time. With that said, Maddie, yes, Fed Day didn't seem like much of a Fed day, did it?
No, it did not seem much like a Fed day. Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Frankie. We were in the podcast this week. We talked about this in the Traders Lounge, even right before the Fed came out. We were talking in the Traders Lounge earlier today about how we kind of all felt the market was looking past the Fed this week, and we didn't think it was going to be, a Fed meeting that moved the needle that much. And then the Fed came out and Jay Powell wore his dark purple tie. By the way, I did win that bet. Dark purple tie, it won out. Very happy about
Nice.
that win on the dark purple tie. But I saw the dark purple tie and I'm like, ooh, we going to get something here? And the whole time, like the market, if you look at kind of when the Fed reported policy, that's right here on this candle. And again, expectations was we weren't really going to see anything that moved the needle. That was not my expectations on a price perspective. Like there's always volatility here. And we saw the initial release of the policy statement. And Frankie, on the initial release of the policy statement, legitimately the range on that 1 minute candle was like 15 points. Like that's not too abnormal versus what a normal trading session is,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
And then the market spent the better part of the entire next 45 minutes inside that range, tried to break out of the range, came right back inside range, and then finished legitimately inside range before you said this red candle down. But that was on the initial response on Microsoft, their earnings report. And so what stands out to me today in a day where the Fed legitimately doesn't do much, Jay Powell comes out and talks about data dependency. The expectation was to go into a little bit of a dovish pause to kind of last at a minimum throughout the remaining part of Powell's tenure. And that's kind of where we're at right now. A data-driven pause, most likely pausing throughout the rest of Powell's tenure. And there wasn't any real aggressive concern one way or the other. And so I honestly, there's not a real strong takeaway from Powell today. I think it came, I think it went, I think the market's moving on, and I think the only thing the market truly cares about right now is nothing that Jay Powell said. It's all about these earnings that came out today, brother.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was fun to look at it, about an hour before the market closed. Be like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't
You
know,
didn't know,
right?
you want to
If
know.
you didn't know it's Fed Day, if you just slept in, you wouldn't even know what happened. Well, you bring up the earnings, man,
Well,
and
very quickly, the most amazing thing was you look at this daily doji here on the daily chart. That's the exact same candle at 11
then the
o'clock as it was
lounge.
at two
Yep.
o'clock. Like it didn't change. It was a wide-ranging doji, called a spinner. It's the same thing right now. Like it was really, again, not surprised by anything that was said today in any capacity. And I don't think the market is, but I am surprised that algorithms also felt like Powell was equally boring today.
It's,
That to
whew,
me is the thing that does stand out.
that
But
is interesting.
you are right. The conversation with the Fed's done. It's not even going to be a pricing event. There's nothing to really price in. And the market moves on to this batch of earnings that is extremely important today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had some big ones, the first really big ones, right? We've had some big names. We'll look at a couple of them, but the first like monsters coming out here tonight. Quick thoughts on some of these Mag 7 and big dog names before we get to business.
Yeah, just a couple headlines here on some of the big dogs. First and foremost, so much for that reversal we were tracking in Meta. Thanks Meta, thanks Zuck. I mean, Meta just came out, a year of efficiency type stuff here.
Yeah, it's
Just had a
impressive.
really good report. They came in with an 8% beat, slightly above market expectation. Average EPS beat in the market right now is right around 6%. They come in at 8%. Nothing to really kind of write home about on the EPS side of the equation. Meta, that's the minimum standard on Meta. Revenue was up 24% year over year. Q1 guidance was basically above consensus by about 7%. So we're talking about pretty solid beat on the EPS side of the equation. Revenue looks good, increasing guidance. That's the fourth hat trick, Frankie, in the last 12 hours
Yeah,
that I reported on. We had two hat tricks all of last quarter. I've reported on four hat tricks, and that's when they beat and increased guidance just in the last 12 hours.
yeah,
So
we're
you're
just getting
talking
started.
about, yeah, and even though like there's been a lot of concern on the CapEx side on AI, apparently that concern on CapEx is only when the market's having other broader concerns because today Meta's like, you know what, we're going to increase CapEx spend. We're going to increase 73% based on what we were doing last year. We're going to increase it what was the number on the quarter on expectation? 13% above expectation, 73% above last year. And the next person who tells me CapEx is bearish, I'm just gonna be like, what? Like, what? That might have been a comment towards Mark. I'm not really to say it as of right this very second. But Meta's gonna be gapping up here. Meta has a fantastic report. Definitely 1A on the report here today. Meta's gains came at the behest of Microsoft here, Frankie, as Microsoft is getting the sell treatment pretty aggressively. You're basically at the market maker move right now on the downside in Microsoft. Microsoft comes in with a 6% beat, flatlined on growth year over year. Don't provide any guidance update like Meta does. They talked about in the conference call a little bit about the strong AI narratives, like everybody and their dog is saying right now. So, Microsoft, you're not standing out there. We need to hear from CapEx, Microsoft. We need to hear some degree of growth initiative, Microsoft. And we just didn't hear it out of their earnings. So, a little bit of a gap, little bit of a gap down is expected. What will be interesting to me, Frankie, is if Microsoft increases in support, that will stand out to me going against the
Yeah,
backdrop of the 490 test. But we will be dealing with a little bit of a gap down in Microsoft. Tesla was another one that did come out here today. And quietly, I am extremely impressed by it, by a 5% beat. Actually, it was an 11% beat out of EPS here on Tesla. Tesla, at least for me, I was not expecting a beat. We got an 11% beat on Tesla. Revenue was up 33% year over year, really good. Don't provide guidance on Tesla, but honestly, conference call to see what Elon has to say. I haven't had a chance to kind of dive into it yet. Looking forward to that after Trade Masters, but a positive report. Doubtful that we're going to be talking on Tesla anything major breakout, but anything above that 452 pivot, double pivot, you can
they
start
stand out.
anchoring on some degree of secondary development there on Tesla. And Frankie, I know we're trade masters, not going to steal the show on earnings. I'll save some of this for the Traders Lounge tomorrow. But my goodness, Big Blue, I just have to show a little bit of love to old Big Blue here, Frankie.
There
They
you
are
go.
going to skyrocket tomorrow on a 4% beat on EPS, 12% beat on revenue. But man, they had great free cash flow, increasing free cash flow. Business is booked solid into the future. Reminds me a little bit of some of those other demand equations we're seeing in the AI space right now. You also had Lamb Research out, and I know that's a very important one for our community and Lamb Research. Guess what, team? They did it again. They did it again. They did it again. And I don't think you got to worry about this bad boy until next quarter because they had a really good report in and of themselves. Revenue was up 38% year over year, beat it 8.5%. And then they talked about a lot of positive headwinds, slight increase in guidance. So Lamb Research comes through. You also had like ServiceNow I could go on and on all day on this earnings
I know
conversation,
you could.
Frankie.
It's the time of the year, bro.
Yeah, it's ServiceNow is another one. Paltry beat 3%, revenue up 20%. They have 20% growth on their Q1 subscriptions, which is slightly better than what the market was expecting, but so far a little bit of a downward drift. Let's see a double bottom here. Like that's what I'm thinking on like ServiceNow. I'm thinking about that on like
Yeah,
Microsoft.
Microsoft,
Do
sure.
we get some double bottoms outside of that? Meta's back to being a momentum juggernaut that we talked about that reversal. Like next time we talk so much about that reversal,
You're gonna
just
front
tell
run.
me to take a partial, please. Just please, please.
I
Um,
feel you, bro. I
but
feel you.
it's honestly, I was a little concerned coming into this week on the earnings side of the equation. Obviously, I write about that in the newsletter every single week, and I am really looking forward to writing that article in this week's newsletter as well. But I will say, like the earnings landscape this week has been so much better than any other conversation the market is currently having on the geopolitical or the political or the valuation side of the equation. Earnings is the truth, and it's coming through pretty decent right now.
Yeah, it really is. And well, we've got another big week and a half, right?
Yeah, we
Right in the
do.
heart of earnings season. You know it's getting real when you get Mag 7 names reporting. Appreciate that update, Maddie. With that said, let's get into business. And a quick reminder before we look at Maddie's first pick, Fastenal, YouTube stuff, right? Always helpful if you like the stream to give us a like, share with a friend, hit the sub, the notification bell. You know, all of that fun YouTube stuff. We certainly do appreciate it. Maddie, you're going first here
Mhm.
today. And you're going with a little character that I kind of had my eye on as well. And I think I like it for the same reasons that you do in this fast and all. But what kind of caught your eye here?
Yeah, the go or don't setup after a positive response on earnings. And, Frankie, every time I see this pattern, I think of you. The gap down destruction of that gap and the fire back response. It's always a really big positive. It stands out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's what we had on Fastenal's earnings, a little bit of gap down, fire back, get above all that cluster of overhead right there around the 200-day moving average, and then flag-based pattern down into the 200. And when I was doing my scan here today, over the last 2 3 trading sessions, I've kind of felt like there's two big trades in the market. You have the QE trade and you have the AI trade. The QE trade slightly overextended. The AI trade starting to see a little bit of momentum for the first time in really 6 weeks in the market. And so it's like, okay, out of all these picks in the market, I don't know which one's going to dominate, the QE trade or the AI trade. I just kind of feel like the AI trade is going to step up a little bit here. And so I picked one for the QE trade and I picked one for the AI trade.
Love it.
That's what I did. That's how I diversify these days, Frankie. I
Very
got an AI
respectable
trade,
way.
I got a QE trade.
Very
Everybody's pumping, let's
respectable.
go. Fastenal obviously on the QE cyclical side of the equation, but honestly, Frankie, what I like about it is just a pure technical conversation. Flag-based pattern coming into the 200-day moving average, combo 9 EMA after a positive earnings response. That's what you like to see in secondary pattern development. And then when you're looking at this last 3 bar little pattern here, Frankie, real good tight consolidation that you can establish what you and I love in retracements, that go or don't setup, where you don't have to think about it underneath, because I'm not going to like this retracement underneath. That's where the go or don't setup is really powerful, is when you're at that one level in a pullback where you don't like it anymore. And it
Yep.
just so happens to be the flag on Fastenal because it happens to be the 200-day moving average. If it
Yeah.
wasn't that, I'd be like, hey, yeah, we can get a retracement down to the 20-period moving average. But, I just like the go or don't setup. And when you look at the intraday side of the equation here, Frankie, just tight. This is what you want to see. Downward drift over a 2-day time frame, kind of flat line, get that confirmation. And I would look at confirmation above this little cluster around the 4407 level. Any close above that level would confirm it. If you are going aggressive on entry, I would look at the wick on today's candle, which is slightly above the overall neutrality over the last 3 trading sessions. And again, the go or don't setup is powerful because it's not only clean on entry, clean on stop loss. There's no real debate there. Like
Yeah.
you get a stop loss, you get an entry above the high, you get a stop loss underneath the base of support on the intraday side, and you giddy up and you go, 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 because that's how you process that go or don't setup. And so I just think, first opportunity to see an increasing support level against the backdrop of that reversal, like the 200-day moving average, Frankie. And I like it having the ability to start work up and up and up a little bit. So I'm thinking more trending than I am on just pure swing trade, more of that swing to position. I'm establishing it as a swing trade from an entry and a stop loss. But I'm willing to see how this maneuvers as it does start to work up. I do think if you're swing trading, you are targeting 45. If you're doing more to swing a position, I think you can kind of get to the gap fill at the 45.71 level. That's T1 for me is 45.71. And on the swing to position, I am thinking a little bit higher, which means I will set through some degree of momentum flag, momentum high base, stuff like that. Nothing on the deeper retracement side. But I do think that would be the secondary target up there as we start to get back into the 49 to 50 level. I like post-secondary analysis coming with Fastenal for my first pick.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I figured I was going to feel the same way. That's kind of where my head was when I was looking at him.
Yeah.
Real easy to process. You can play pure swing. You can play really position, right?
Yeah.
As you march up the chart. Cheap risk type of scenario. Love it, bro. Love it.
Awesome.
And I do love a gap down fire back on earnings. There is no doubt about that.
I think I don't know if it's your favorite pattern, but I know you love that pattern.
It's one of my favorite things
Yeah.
during earnings. That is for
Yeah.
absolute certain. I love it. I'm going to go sticking with something that's got earnings behind it, Maddie, and that's
I think that's
GM.
going to be a theme for you and I.
Yeah, like if they got earnings ahead, like no, thank you. Right. These guys had quite the earnings report,
Mm.
breaking through everything here yesterday. We talked a little bit about these guys in the lounge, and basically my general thought was you just need to get through this earnings candle high, but we were asking for a little bit of inside candlesticks, right?
Yeah.
At least one,
Give
hopefully
me another
two,
one, baby.
but at least one, and we're halfway home, right? That helps
Mhm.
us process the trade and dial in kind of, the emotions of the people who held through that earnings report and let them see if they want to, shake it out or keep this guy running. I love this inside bar. Really, any price action that stays in yesterday's, of course, the earnings candle play base, any price action that stays in there is fine by me.
Mhm.
Looking for the break above that high to get going. This is a break of everything. Maddie, is assuming we do, of course, get through that top shelf.
Yeah, it's
And
all-time high status.
it's all-time high. This guy's been on a heater for a while. There's no doubt about that. You see that weekly
Did we
that
put respect on this name?
we did.
Okay, I
We
just want to
did.
make sure we gave it the
We put the
T25 label.
T25. Always put
T25,
respect
baby.
on that name.
Yeah.
And like I think you could just love just the fact that it's a breakout on a big time earnings, right? That was a legit gap on earnings, well deserved on the earnings report, but it's also got the little bit of the vibe of the old megaphone pattern, right?
Mm.
And you don't run into those
You
every day of the
don't.
every
You
day of the
don't.
week,
The
but
little
you got the
megaphone.
megaphone pattern here right at that level. And what's interesting, Maddie, is according to the megaphone, if and when we break to the top side, we should be able to get the current range, which takes us to about 97.50. But you
Mhm.
know what they say. If you get to 97.50, you can get to
There's
100.
there's a 97.5% probability of going
I
to
heard
100, I
somebody say
believe it
that
says.
somewhere,
Yeah, I
maybe it
think
was
that's what
maybe.
it is.
So I think you can legitimately, again, not probably from a pure swing trade target to 100. That might be a little ambitious, but I do
Yeah.
believe that you can legitimately target this as we're kind of getting, going quarter to quarter into that $100 range. Being GM, there's lots of ways that you could play it. You can easily just, go pop some calls. You can do some bull call spreads. It's probably not much of a credit type of scenario right now. One
No,
thing
even
that's
on the covered call, if you're like on that potential breakout, even if you are covering, you're covering at a low delta.
at a very, very low,
Mm.
very low delta. One thing that stood out to me, not as the primary way to play this, but it's kind of the kicker, is you can go into March and get the 95 100 for about $50, right? It's just a little bit of a kicker. You get a little bit of time. If this makes the up to 100, that really beefs up the return on your trade. If it doesn't, it doesn't really add a whole lot to the risk because it's approximately
That's
$50,
a
right?
that's a nine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
yeah,
50 to
that's yeah,
500, right?
50 for
Get the
50 for
50 to
450.
500,
Yeah.
yeah, 50
So
for
it's just a
450.
it's
Yeah.
just a way to really increase my profit potential if I'm right.
That's a beautiful cheapy
It's
philosophy right there.
yeah.
50 for 450. Who's not signing up for
Who's
that?
not going to like that? And I really like doing that when you're in these situations where I'm not counting on that. I don't need that to happen.
Yeah,
But if I'm right, I'm going to get paid out a lot better. And if I'm wrong, it's just adding another 50 bucks or so to the total cost of my trade.
to the kicker. Yeah.
And so I could
Can
absorb
you
that.
explain what you mean by kicker?
Yeah, it's
Like,
just yeah. So just when I say kicker, at least it's just that little extra. So when we're doing covered calls, instead of doing 100 shares, might do 105. So
it's
five
a
of
way
those
to
shares.
ratio
So
it.
it's a way to ratio a little bit. So give yourself a little bit more upside if you're
Yeah.
right, without really sticking your neck out, right, with some big old but if I'm wrong, that's going to slap me
Let me
around and
just
really,
go
really
pop
hurt.
that out of the money call options.
Exactly. It's
Let's
just a
go
way
there,
to kind
baby.
of beef up the
Yep.
potential return while not significantly beefing up the potential risk, right?
And
Which
knowing
is,
full well that the kicker's not exactly going to pay out, but when it does, it pays out big
but
against
when
what the
it,
risk
yep,
is.
yep,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's just that's something that really stood out to me on GM. But
I like
whether
it.
you agree with that philosophy or not, I do think you have to be interested in this breakout here post earnings
Yeah,
on GM.
I agree. It's one of the earnings reports from this week that pulled off the hat trick. It's one of those stocks I was referring to.
It was, yep,
The T25 so far has had a pretty decent earnings season, but that's going to happen when you have FCX, GM, and Lam Research kind of leading the charge
gonna
here,
help.
especially to offset that Bank of America early just stinker of a gap down. So it was good to see on GM. It's good to see on Lam Research. Good to see on FCX. And we got a couple others coming up on the T25. SoFi is on
Yeah, they're
Friday. That's
good.
going to
Yeah,
be another
Friday.
interesting one. I really like your pick on GM. Obviously, both cyclical based. It's just honestly when you think about Fastenal versus GM, like to me, they're completely different patterns, but they're completely, dealer's choice on how you want to trade that. Do you like
Yep.
the momentum breakout or do you like the recovery snapback? It's just dealer's preference. I like them both. I will go with I have to. GM. I do like GM quite a bit, and it's a tackle 25 stock, so I'll go with GM. But I like both the plays, and I
Yeah,
think they're
I'd
a little
agree.
bit of a diverse show.
Yeah, actually, absolutely agree on both. I think they're both very viable. I'll stick with Tackle 25 GM
Yeah,
as well, but I do like
it
them
just
both.
you have to stick with T25, baby. You
It,
just
it's
do.
it's it's a tough
You just do.
tiebreaker
It's
to beat, right?
blasphemous when it's not.
That is,
But the
we
go
love
or
that.
don't setup on Fastenal looks
Just
absolutely
easy, clean. Yeah, I
fantastic.
love setups like that, right? I don't have to use
Does
my brain.
So we went QE trade pretty aggressive in round one with two cyclical plays there in both GM and Fastenal, Frankie. I think we're starting something on the AI side of the
It
equation.
kind of feels
I
like it
don't know
might
if
be.
we're
Yeah,
seeing a trade or a leg or a trend, but I think we are starting to see the early innings of momentum here, especially against what we're seeing across the market itself. Very interested to see how the market kind of handles Meta, Microsoft, Tesla tomorrow. But that's a tomorrow conversation. I'm going to go with Taiwan Semiconductor here, Frankie. I was very impressed by their earnings report early in the
yeah.
season. It didn't provide a catalyst for the market, but then again, if you go back to think about all the political and geopolitical conversations in the last week and a half in the market, you kind of understand that the market's been focused on a little bit of other things other than earnings, especially when you only have a relatively handful, like Taiwan was reporting a couple weeks ago. And I know it feels like a world away that 7 trading sessions ago, but at the end of the day, this was a hat trick. Good beat on EPS, good beat on revenue, increasing forward-looking guidance. I would put Taiwan Semiconductor's report right up there with Meta, quite frankly. They had a very good report. I would put Taiwan right up there with Lam Research as well. I would put Taiwan right up there with ASML. All of those AI darlings had pretty good earnings. Well, the one that has a secondary pattern is Taiwan Semiconductor right now. So I'm
Yep.
going to go with Taiwan Semiconductor. And I think there's a variety of ways you can play Taiwan here. Obviously, you can go pure swing trade, pure position trade. You can look at shares, you can look at options. That's really dealer's choice. But what I'm looking at is a good old fashioned bull call spread here. I like the momentum, I like the trend, but I have some questions on how aggressive this can get here on Taiwan. And so I am going to go the spread route. And so in terms of, the spread, I'll just kind of talk about what spread I'm going to do. But if you're looking at it technically here on the directional side, I would just be triggering in either above the high aggressively or just wait on a confirmation close above 350. I think either one's perfectly fine. Stop loss, I kind of like, if you're going to play the aggressive high here, I kind of like a stop loss underneath pivot to take the risk there. That would be more of a stock trade more than anything. If it is more of that aggressive option swing trade, ride the 9 on the stop loss. It's an open air environment, so you're going to want to let that momentum play out from a targeting perspective. But for me, Frankie, I am looking at the option spread. I'm looking 51 days out. I like position size according to risk here on the option side of the equation, so you don't have to get into too complicated management conversations. And I like starting it slightly out of the money here, expecting a little bit of breakout on Taiwan Semiconductor. And so I'm just going to structure a fairly traditional out of the money, slightly out of the money bull call spread, where I'm going to start with the 40 delta contract, 360 40 delta contract. I'm going to offset that with the 15 delta contract 400 strike price, which is a really big time significant whole number type
Oh yeah,
target
very
strike price
reasonable
as
target.
well.
Yeah.
So that I kind of structured it around the 400 strike, to be perfectly honest with you, because that's one of those secondary targets that if you ever get there, you're maxed out. And so I like a bull call spread 360 by 400. It's a net delta of 0.25. You're offsetting slightly around 30% of the cost of the call option in general. And so I'm going to go bull call spread, Taiwan Semiconductor, position sizing according to risk, and seeing what we can do on the AI side of the equation with one of the biggest AI darlings out there.
It's hard to go wrong with Taiwan Semiconductor. It's been hard to go wrong with them for a really long time, right? And
Yeah,
a
it has.
pretty decent little traditional bull call spread. And what I like about Taiwan and spreads in general is there's so much dealer's choice, right? I can start closer to the money, further out. Like I love it. I love it. And of course, I do love me some Taiwan Semiconductor. So I got no beef with that. You know who I don't love though, Maddie, is Nike. I don't love Nike, and so
No.
I'm going to, I'm going to throw a bear out there.
You gonna gator jump?
Where we're in the gator's mouth, and we've been
Uh,
living in the gator's mouth for a long time, right? We've been living in the
chompy
gator's mouth
chomp.
for forever, and now we're yep, chompy chomp. We expect in the gator's mouth, ultimately to fill the gator's mouth would take us down into that 53, 54 range, right? And what I like here is you have this big gap down on earnings, right? I mean, just disastrous, nightmarish gap, and then a pretty mellow gap fill, right? Worked its way up, filled that gap pretty easily, but now you get that rollover and that M look to it, right? That's
Yeah,
going to look a lot like a
the
confirmed.
nasty look off that double tap against the
It's just
200.
a really gross look, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
working right down into that support level, whether you're calling it under the low from big green, where your line is there, or just under today's low. I think it probably depends on the
I think you can
trader.
go today's low and be fine. But
Yeah, I
you know,
think you can too. But if you feel like you need a little bit extra, it doesn't cost much to get below the low there, low there, and that's just going to look like a confirmed weekly bearish retracement, right? And it is in the alligator's mouth. I would expect that ultimately we do retest this recent swing low at $57, which is
mhm.
a very logical first
Yeah,
target
it's a
location,
major pivot.
the major pivot earnings response, right? I think that stands out for our first target. Or if you just kind of want an aggressive swing trade, that's probably
Yeah.
T2 with the gator's mouth, the bottom of the mouth, which is around 53, 54 as that secondary target. Being Nike, you can play it a variety of ways as well. I like something fixed risk personally on this. I was looking at the February 60, 57, 50s, tends to be the way I like to play bears short term, starting a little bit out of the money. It's cheap risk, good reward on it. I can get two of them instead of
You know
one
what that
call
tells
option
me,
or one put
Frankie?
option.
You don't trust a bear that much.
Oh, I don't trust a bear that much,
Oh
but
no.
no, it's hard out there for a bear.
What do we like saying in tackle? Bears get trades, bulls get trends.
It's so true. And I say it's hard out there for a bear
Mhm.
because it usually is. But if it's going to be easy for anybody, seems like Nike's is about as good a bet as you are going to find. I do.
Terrible technical look there.
Yeah, I feel like 57 is not a super tall ask. I wouldn't be surprised to see some development there for a, another trade setup. into
There's a
that
lot of data
54.
there, by the way, down
Like
around
there, that's a
50,
big,
down
yeah.
around like 52
That
as
like
well. Like,
54 ranges, the Gator's mouth, and a lot
yeah,
of price in there, right? So,
yeah.
I don't think you're getting too aggressive past there. I like a shorter term,
I think
slightly
it's a
out of the money
conservative
spread, but
trade down to 57. And if you get some love out underneath
that's
that,
kind
maybe
of where my
open it
head
up.
is,
But
right? I do expect it to chomp ultimately, but I feel like our easy, easy in quotation
yeah,
marks window is down to that 57. The nice thing about, working with a spread is I can structure it where I don't need a stop loss. But if I were stopping it out, I'd probably just, set it up off of today's candle's high, regardless of where I was triggering. Just, let's see if we get momentum going our way and rock and roll from there. So,
yeah,
I don't pitch a lot of bears, but this rollover is pretty ugly, and Nike's been
it's a
pretty
nasty
nasty for
look.
a while. So throw them out there.
Yeah, it's a nasty look. And I thought about going a bear, but I decided to go my diversified route with QE and the AI trade there, Frankie.
You probably feel
Um,
better about yourself
but
than I do, right? So,
I do, I do. But I also think it's important to have a bear, even if you do complain about them getting stopped out quite a bit. I was thinking about Abbott Labs on their absolutely nasty gap down and just sell down behavior. I was thinking of capturing a quick 5 points down to 100 points, $100 basically. I still like it. And yeah, that silver SLV, don't stop. Don't stop.
can't stop,
Like,
won't
it'll
stop.
stop at some point. Don't stop. Continue.
Just do your
I just
thing.
want to just go. Just continue. Just
Just,
go.
just,
It
yeah,
deserves all the roses. It deserves absolutely everything. And all those banks shorting it. Guess what, banks? You deserve it. Let's go.
hard to feel too sorry for you.
Are you kidding me? Are
So,
you kidding me? If anybody feels bad for these banks that are going to go belly up shorting silver, I'll save a tear for them, guys.
yeah, I don't believe that. I don't
Yeah,
believe that
no,
at all.
I rather enjoy silver. Silver's great. Silver's great. Gold's great. It's all great. Um,
It's yeah,
but
it's a
silver
beautiful.
and gold are great because our world's going into chaos. So let's just it's great here. It's great here. But
It very much is. Every day has been a fun day for gold and silver for quite some time, and yeah, one day it'll come to end, but I'm not going to guess when that is, and I'm going to enjoy it every minute
if
until
you had
that day
to,
happens. Ooh, if I had to.
only pick one, Taiwan on the bull call slide out or the cheapy bear put on Nike.
Oh, that is so tough. That is so tough. Because I mean, like, not
You're,
thinking about how cheap
you're
the
the
bear
one who
is.
named the Gators mouth pattern, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah. So
tougher for you.
like, and it's so cheap, and it's an easy way to play a cheap bear.
Oh,
Like
very
I
easy,
like
cheap bear.
Taiwan better than it. So like if straight up, if you're like, straight up, you're going, shares or short and shares, I'd
Yeah,
signed with Taiwan. But I just think with like the cheapness and the fact that, like you said, I mean, I don't like bears, but I do understand that you want a
important to have
few
a
of them
bear.
around,
Yeah,
right? You want a few of them around.
everybody
So
needs bear friends.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's Taiwan. With all of that
Yeah,
said, I
I
can't
thought
get behind the bear thesis the way I can
I
the
I I
AI
was I
trade.
was I was
So
just dude, if you would have said you preferred a bear over the AI darling Taiwan, I would have never have let you live it down. Even if your bear was successful and my bull got smoked,
it's
I
just a tough.
still would.
There's no way I was gonna. I mean, I
I
tried to talk
still
myself
would.
into it, right? You saw it in
Yeah.
real time. I was like, all the reasons why I'm gonna go with it, and then when I have to answer, nah, give me the AI Taiwan
Yeah, give me the
semi.
AI one. All right,
So
Frankie. Well, this was absolute enjoyable. Thank you so much for
likewise.
hosting and bringing in the greatness as you do every single time. Why don't you go ahead and send us out?
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. I hope it gave you all some ideas and a little bit of info on the big dog earnings. We'll be talking about them in much more detail, I have no doubt, tomorrow in the Traders Lounge. So very much look forward to seeing the team over there. And again, if you aren't a pro member just yet, come on over, give us a try. Come hang out within the lounge with us for a couple weeks. See if it's a good fit. I think you'll find that it is. And if it's not, no harm, no foul, right? Get to hang out with some cool people for a little bit. So that link will
It's
be
an
in the
amazing
description.
community.
Best community out there, bar none.
I,
So thankful to be
Frankie, I don't
part of
know
it.
about you, but I love hanging out with the team in the Traders Lounge.
Oh,
It's
of
one of
course.
my favorite things all week long.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, it's
At
of
the end of the
course.
week, I'm so grateful just to hang out with the team all week long, navigating the world together, the financial world together, covering the news, the earnings, the
Yeah.
important technicals. I just, it truly. Ask Mark, ask anybody at tackle. I just love hanging out with the tackle
Oh,
team.
yeah,
I just do.
100%. Yeah, I can't
do.
imagine. I can't imagine not. I don't even want to try to imagine
Like-minded
not. But
traders
that's
and investors all helping one another out. What's not to love about
what's
that?
not to love. We have some fun. We talk some charts. We talk some football. We talk some memes. We talk some, some junk at each other. Some of us do, but love each and every one of our community
You
members.
gotta
So
have a little
come
thick
on,
skin
join us.
every now and then in the
It
lounge.
just depends who
So
you are, right?
darts get thrown every now
Depends
and
on who you are. So, but thank
then.
you
They
so
do.
much for joining us, team. On the way out, would certainly appreciate a like, a comment, a share. You know, all of the fun YouTube stuff. We certainly do appreciate that. Other than that, we'll be back same time, same channel here next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Trade Masters. But between here and there, we'll be seeing you plenty starting tomorrow in the Traders Lounge. Thanks, everybody.